Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to a stream. I guess it's not really part of any series or anything like that. Hi, it's Christmas time. Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Tristan. Welcome to a stream. I'm Tristan. I run the YouTube channel Step Back History, stepbackhistory.com if you want to look it up. I'm also the co-host of the podcast It's Probably Not Aliens, which can be found at probsnotaliens.com. As for everybody knows, like it says on the freaking title, this is my last stream before I go on parental leave. So pending, unless the baby comes early, I might do a stream on New Year's Day, but I'm not going to promise on that one. But yeah, this is my last regular stream for 3 months. Isn't that wild? I go by he, him pronouns. And if you wish to support my work, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory, where I release videos early for patrons. For as little as 84 cents a month, you get early access to ad-free, sponsor-free videos. You can also go to Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can give me one free Twitch Prime subscription every month. It helps me out, and it's no extra cost to you. It's baked into your Amazon Prime membership, and if you don't use it, Amazon basically just gets to keep your money. And if you've got any change lying around, something like anything like super chats, bits, and Twitch subscriptions are all very much welcome and appreciated. So there is that. My latest video, if you want to watch it, is on Project Cybersyn. It's pretty old now, but if someone hasn't seen it yet, some people really like it, so take a look. My next video is on Kyle Rittenhouse. It's called How Kyle Rittenhouse Got Away with M Censored. It is right now available for patrons, and it will be going live for everybody else on December 27th. Yeah. And if this is anybody's first time watching this stream, we have a really great community. Unfortunately, we're going to be on a break for a while, but we still have a Discord server. So if you're new and you want to keep in touch with the whole chat community, I haven't done this in a little while, so I'm going to go and share an invite link to the Discord server. Because, like I said, there's not going to be a stream here for quite a while. So might as well give you guys some, if you want to join a community, keep in touch. I'll still be reading the Discord. So put a link in the chat there for you guys. Yeah. And without further ado, let's get Mia up. By the way, yeah, there were some stream issues last week that I think I have fixed. It was some ISP issues that has to do with networks and stuff. It seems like there was something that my computer was doing that was unfair. Like, what's it called? It was flagging my ISP to slow down my upload speed. But that is gone now, and I have fixed the problem, so it shouldn't be happening again. Just in time, right? All right, let's get this call going. Oh, hello.
Hello.
I don't know why, but for some reason, my thing didn't show up. So 1 second. So you're just gonna be sideways, Mia.
Well, hang on. If I do like that. Does that work?
Yeah.
There we go. Because it's Christmas and because nothing like works the way it's supposed to, I am unfortunately.
You are doing a phone stream?
I'm doing a phone stream, yes.
Well, that's, I think, next level badass. That's dedication right there.
Listen, the reason why we're doing it this way is because I fucked up. The reason why we're doing it is because I completely had a brain fart and booked my Christmas traveling on Monday during the last day. So I'm just thankful that you're able to do this, and I'm sorry for making everything more complicated. But I'm glad that it's working out.
No, this is better. This is my last day of work before paternity leave too, so I'm doing my like last bits of video cranking before I take the holidays off and then 3 months off. So that'll be. I'm such a tightly wound Type A personality that I don't understand what it is to have time off. I don't know how to relax. Like
That's what it is. Yeah.
I'm gonna continue on break, like getting up at 6 a.m. and like doing the dishes and exercising before 9 and stuff like that because I don't know how to not work. It's actually a problem.
Well, that's a good thing to do though, right? Like that just means that you have your life sorted out.
No, well, it also means that I'm gonna like have a nervous breakdown because I'm always stressed out. But yeah, it's gonna be really. But it's holiday time. We even got like jazzy holiday music and everything.
Yeah, I got my Christmas shirt.
Very good. You're in the most Christmas of countries. You're in the country of Christmas, basically, as far as I'm concerned.
I am. Yes, I am in Christmas land currently. I hope that the phone thing isn't like disrupting it too much. I hope it works.
It works fine. Yeah.
Right. Perfect.
Now I have a question. Now this is something interesting because I think it only happens in a few countries. Does your country suffer from what I'm going to call? Is that a kitty?
That's a kitty. I just wanted to show you. Yeah.
Does your country have Santa nationalism? In that it's very important to convince the world that Santa is Swedish.
No. But I think that has to do with like a weird... I think that has to do with like a weird brotherhood thing with Finland. Just because like Finland used to be part of Sweden, right? So there's like this weird fraternal bond. So I think a lot of people here just like agree that he's Finnish.
Okay.
Because that means that Santa isn't Norwegian.
Okay.
So it's less of a brotherly love thing and more just something to spite the Norwegians.
Okie dokie. Because we are very convinced here that Santa is Canadian. Because Canada, if you ever look, like, you know how everyone's like, oh, look at China's money. It's, oh, look, Phoebe's here. Christmas miracle. But like, and you know how everyone's like, oh, if you look at the Chinese money, like they have claims to so much territory. If you ever look at Canadian money, we like have claims to like the entire Arctic. It's actually silly. So in our minds, Canada or Santa's Canadian, and he even has a postal code. That kids can send their letters to, and they get like kind of replies from volunteers.
And that's just deranged.
Yeah, well, it's run by the government, which is even wilder.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
In Canada, in Canada, right? We have our postal codes go letter number, and it's 6 long. So what you do is any kid who writes a letter into the mailbox that says "Dear Santa Claus," like to Santa Claus, North Pole, and the postal code is H0H0H0, and you can write a letter, and they will actually send you things.
It's kind of cute. I don't see why Canada would have a claim to Santa, because I feel like Santa predates Canada.
Well, a lot of Americans will say that Santa lives in Alaska, in North Pole, Alaska specifically, which is a city in Alaska.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
And Russians are pretty convinced that Santa's Russian, so just all
fair.
I mean, they have more of a claim because they even had Alaska at one point.
Yeah. Oh shit, he is Alaskan.
There you go.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So and yeah, of course, the real answer is Santa is a Greek Anatolian. Yes.
Yes, exactly. It comes from modern day Turkey.
If he lived today, he would like tea and blue and white striped polo shirts that show a lot of chest hair.
The idea of that is like kind of funny though, because like the popular idea of like Santa as like a jolly, round, haired man is so like opposite to the idea of like the modern day equivalent of what he actually was.
Yeah.
Which as you say would be like
Mediterranean Greek guy. Like, yeah, just chest
like
hair,
guy.
tan, gel in the hair.
Drinks a lot of olive oil.
Yeah, just drinks, like, lives on a steady diet of olive oil used both as food and moisturizer on the skin.
And hair products.
Yes, and when not drinking olive oil, their other vitamin is feta cheese. This is what they survive on.
The reason why we make fun of the Greeks is for the same reason we make fun of the Italians. They have a nice climate and they don't have to deal with the snow as much as we do.
Yeah, so
I would also like to live this life. Like, Greek Santa fucking rules. Are you kidding me? I want gifts from Greek Santa.
Yep. Instead of ho ho ho, he says ho ho hopa. There you go. Done. That was cursed. I apologize for that one already. And his real name is Dimitri. Or no, Santa Claus. I'm trying to think. Christopher. Christos, right? Isn't that the Christopher?
Christos. Yeah. Oh shit, Santa's in the chat.
Yeah, Santa's the person who asks all those really complicated questions.
Thank you, Santa.
Yeah, he's testing whether we're bad or good through the questions. It's like a big moral test to see whether we get presents.
I'm in favor of this.
Replace every single fluid in your life with olive oil. Exactly.
It can work.
Mm-hmm. All right. I've got my last batch of questions. The only other thing I can think to talk about is that The Matrix came out and neither of us saw it, and I can't see it probably for a long time. So.
Yeah, I was gonna see it today, but unfortunately, like life gets in the way. So it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Which is so unfortunate. I was very much looking forward to seeing it, so I think I'll see it later. Apparently, it's controversially good.
Yeah, I'm hearing like it's good and bad in the same way that Sense8 was both good and bad, which is great.
Yeah. The worst review I've heard was someone saying like it's like the first Matrix, but kind of like the sequel Matrix 2, and I'm like, great, perfect.
It sounds like a product by the Wachowskis, which is just like, it's weird, it's goofy, it somehow takes itself too seriously and not serious enough. So, all right. I'll give it a go. Yeah. And also it's run by like the ultimate himbo, freaking, what's it called? Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Who, I think I sent you a picture yesterday that was like his ultimate himbo ally energy, which was when somebody asked him about the whole, like, is the Matrix the Matrix being a trans allegory? He's like, I didn't know that, but that's cool.
Wholesome. Thank you, Keanu. It's cool.
I just love it. I like how like Keanu Reeves is like so innocently good. Like he it's like, first of all, a lot of evidence he doesn't spend any time on the internet. So he's like very not online. And then he's just like generally like a nice person who just like
But he also kind of knows what NFTs are, and he knows that they're fucking stupid.
Yeah. Weren't they trying to do Matrix NFTs and they walked away from it?
What did you say?
Weren't they trying to do Matrix NFTs and then they kind of walked away from it?
I think there was some speculation that they would have it, but I don't think that anyone involved in the Matrix actually wanted it to happen. So it just was a non-starter, as far as I know.
Someone in the chat saying that it's a big middle finger to the alt-right appropriation of the Matrix, which is like, really, that's all it needs to be. If it's just that and nothing else, I'm happy.
I feel like that's the point of the movie. Like, that's why they made it. Yeah. To just be like, no, we need to emphasize that the Matrix is gay. It is gay, it is trans, and it hates cops. That's it.
That's all it is.
That's it.
Someone just asked, how did Santa survive the purges? The answer is that Santa is Joseph Stalin. Both of them are brutal industrialists who will grind the workers under their toe to create a perfect society. Santa didn't die, he went home. Or sorry, Stalin didn't die, he went home.
One elf death is a tragedy. 1 million elf deaths is the statistics.
Yeah, you wonder why there's no elves anymore. Like, I haven't seen an elf. I haven't been to Iceland, so I'm not sure where they all are, but...
Listen, the blood of industry is oiled with the blood of elves.
Yeah. And it's rainbow and tastes like sprinkles.
God, there's a good, I think, College Humor sketch where Brennan Lee Mulligan...
Yes, it's like a fantasy, like Lord of the Rings elf meets Christmas elf parents, and it's that's really good.
He goes home to his parents, who are Christmas elves, and this fantasy elf just talks about like how just like I forged great swords from the match of dying stars, and his parents are just like, does it taste like candy?
And like, if you ever want to come home, Santa's always looking for more workers. It's like, oh god. Yeah, it's I don't know how. I think it's because Dimension 20, but the algorithm has been really pushing freaking skits from College Humor on me, and I'm like, I know this sounds like somebody from 2009, but God, College Humor's funny.
Like, I don't know what it is with College Humor, but like in the last, because I mean, didn't they like stop existing like a few weeks ago or something like that?
The pandemic kind of killed the company, and it was on life support for like a year, and now it basically like it exists in a very mild form. It's basically just Dimension 20 now, which is their Dungeons and Dragons show.
Yeah, but it's also it's like the core team that remains, but the content that they make is fucking phenomenal. Because I've been watching. What's it called? Like, I have a Dropout subscription, so I've been watching the game show thing where the rules change every time, which is amazing. You should watch that. And they also have the Nerd Trivia show. Like, it's whatever the fuck you're doing, it's working.
It's blowing my mind because I thought Dropout existed only for Dimension 20.
I think it started like that, but now I think they're starting to like pepper in more shows, slowly but surely. Hey, hire me. Get us to do something.
Yeah, I would. Oh man, we'd probably have to move to California or something. But oh man, like that, like what's it called? That team seems very creatively satisfying to work with.
Oh yes. I would literally give like an arm and a leg to be on that game show where they change all the rules all the time, which I can't remember now because of course not.
Well, actually,
that's the Nerd Trivia show.
Oh, which also reminds me that like Adam Conover came from College Humor, which always is like, oh, every time you see a really old skit, you're like, wait a minute, that's Adam from Adam Ruins Everything. Why is he on this thing?
Adam? Like he still makes appearances in Actually, okay, like because they invite their friends and stuff like that. It's good shit. Mm-hmm. Again, invite us.
Yeah. So okay, I've got 15 questions, and they are the last questions, the epic final 15. Do you think we can do it?
The last. Oh yeah, we can do it.
Okay,
we're gonna crush this.
First one, I think, is going to be very relevant because I found out, I don't know if you heard this, but the Nebula original series Money is going to be released to the public this Christmas season. And as we know, the main villain of Money was you.
Yes.
So the question we got here is from Dave, which asks, I recently got Nebula and Curiosity Stream. Good on you. It's a good deal.
Good on you.
$15 for a year of content. Go for it.
Yeah, go to curiositystream.com/Mia Mulder for a 26% discount.
Remember how I signed up for that and I put your code in and you hadn't even done this? I was just like, I'm just assuming that she has one, and then it just worked.
It was like
before the
4
video
days
came out.
before I released the video. Just like, how the fuck did you get that? That's good shit.
Yeah. Took it away from Abby because I saw it on the Abby Thorne thing, and I was like, I'm gonna sign up for this, and I'm like, I bet if I write Mia Mulder in here, it'll work, and it did.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I hope that they like me better for having more conversions, but we'll see.
Yeah. So I recently got Nebula Curiosity Stream, so now I've seen Tom Scott's Money and know who cheated first. Of course we do. We all know. We all know who threw the first stone in that game.
It's so, I feel so bad about it because I don't even look very good in the show because the fucking lighting and the angles were off. But also, I did do the first backstabbing, and I'm so smug about it too. Like, you can see it in my face in the show that I'm just like, I'm milking it for all it's worth.
Yeah. Although I don't want to spoil anything, but there is another person who becomes the main villain by the end. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. As a viewer, the player does the job, and certain channels like Our Changing Climate have bonus video sections replacing ads. However, I wonder, what are the benefits to Nebula creators over YouTube? Do you get a higher revenue split if I watch Mia's channel exclusively there and not on the YouTube player? Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave, and not Mia Mulder, for asking this question.
Wait, hold on. What did you say?
I said thank you, Dave, and not Mia Mulder, for asking this question. What are the benefits of Nebula's creators over YouTube? Do you get a higher revenue split if I watch Mia's channel exclusively there and not on the YouTube player?
Yeah. Yes, I do. I get like much better paid. The YouTube like revenue split is like god awful. Not necessarily because the split is bad, but rather because there is not a lot of money like flowing into YouTube from viewers. Like, there are ads, and they can make a little bit of money, but like having, you need like tens and like hundreds of thousands of views to even make a dent, right? Whereas you pay like a tiny bit for Nebula, and just a tiny bit adds up to quite a lot of money for the people that you're watching. So I earn like, I would say that I earn maybe twice as much on Nebula that I do on YouTube right now. And that is with getting like, if I get 100,000 views on YouTube, I will earn, yeah, like half of what I would earn from just a couple of 100 views on Nebula.
Damn.
Like, Nebula is much better. But then again, like, not a ton of people watch my stuff on Nebula. Some people do. Like, a lot of people do that. But the viewer base is much different because like the vast majority of my audience is on YouTube, right? But if you have a Nebula subscription and you want to support creators, watching the stuff there like directly translates to money being funneled to that creator. Whereas if you're watching a video on YouTube, like if you watch an ad, maybe that ad will translate to like 1/10 of a cent, which is not really the case in Nebula.
Yeah, it sounds like a really great platform.
And you should be on it. And
I haven't. What's it called? Conversations are in motion. That is all I'm going to be saying. I have instructions to email somebody in January, so we'll see where that goes.
Oh, wonderful!
I'll talk to you a little bit about it after the stream, but yeah. Things are.
We're not going to talk.
Things are in motion.
I'm just saying, like, I'm ready to throw hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what's it called? We did a episode of It's Probably Not Aliens where we had Isaac Arthur on as a guest, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm like a co-owner of this thing." I'm like, "Oh right, okay, let's talk for a bit."
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. The next question we got comes from somebody named rather not say at this time. All right. Gonna be a bit generic. Gonna be a bit generic with this one because I want other people to get stuff out of this as well. I know you're not mental health experts. Boy, aren't we? No. But this is more of a mental. Okay. You're just gonna hang out on top of my printer, okay? I know you're not a mental. Okay. I guess both of you have some perspective on the matter. So my mental health has gone into a slightly negative path. Nothing major, just noticing that some issues are more frequent, and I find it harder dealing with those issues. Additionally, I have lately been. Let me just scroll. Let's see. I have lately been internalizing the fact that some of those should have been talked about with a professional way earlier. I am positive towards and support people seeking therapy, and thankfully, I have the financial means to afford it. However, being raised in a bit of an old-fashioned environment where stuff like this isn't really talked about makes it hard for me to both admit to myself that I am someone who needs professional help, bit of an imposter syndrome on that part as well, and to justify the expense, even being well within my means. Any tips and tricks for how to be an adult about this with myself? On that note, any tips on how to prepare for a first appointment? I have a feeling that I'll freeze or focus on the wrong things. So I haven't been to a therapist since I was a child, so I don't really have much of an answer.
I go semi frequently to a therapist occasionally. I've been a few times. I like the only tips I really have for like a first. Did my phone just die? No, there we go. The only tips I really have for a first appointment is to like not undervalue your own experiences, because I feel like that happens quite a lot. In the sense that like you're talking to a therapist initially, just asking, and they will ask you like, what do you want out of that meeting? And there's oftentimes a tendency to just be like, well, it's not that bad. But if you sort of like devalue your own experiences at that time, you're not going to get the help that you need. So I would even go. I would almost want to like exaggerate how you're feeling yourself, because you will want inherently to like undervalue how it is. So it's like that might even up in the middle somewhere. Otherwise, how to be an adult about things like that is just like realize that occasionally your brain is, well, realize is easier said than done, obviously, but like thinking about the idea that your brain occasionally is gonna be fucky and lie to you, and that it might not be the most reliable source of information. So there's no shame in trying to fix that. That's something that's helpful for me. Like I'm currently in the process of like trying to see if I have ADHD or some other like neurological thing. And I think that is something that it took me a long time to sort of like even come to terms with that even being a possibility. But once you start like booking for a first appointment, as long as you stay as real as you can to the experiences that you're having and not lie to the person that you're talking to, like fully trusting them as much as you can, you will get much more out of the experience. Like you really do need to sort of like trauma dump almost to actually get what you want.
I'll also mention that just if you think that my issues aren't bad enough or whatever, that people, like, you don't have to go to a therapist forever. And if you meet with one and in their professional opinion they don't think that you need like more than a few sessions, they'll tell you. They're happy to graduate people from therapy. So
they love that term. They love being like, yeah, you're done. Good job, you won.
Yep.
You know, they're and even if you go to a therapist a few times, and they will even tell you if like very early on if they think that you don't need therapy at all, because that's sort of like their job. But if they think that like you need something else, they'll gladly point you to that direction, because like that's part of their job, right? To make sure that you're okay.
Yep.
For like everything.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, that's the way to get started. And it's really a thing that in a like just world everybody would have time for. So
yeah,
everyone needs
it
once in a while.
Yeah. but also realize that it is like a ton of work, like a ton of work, because I initially thought that it was going to be like, well, that's just going to be fine. I'm just going to go in and talk, and then I'm going to be done. But like they will give you exercises, they will give you shit to like think about and talk about and like come to terms with, and it's a lot of like active thinking that most people don't really have to do. Like I think that's a reason why people call them shrinks. Just because they will shrink your brain.
Damn.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Therapy is good stuff too.
We're in like
general.
We're in like a wholesome set of questions here. I'm sure that will only last for a little bit, but all right. The next question we got here is, I'm half serious about actually running a simulation to actually take samples about how to run / balance out that age income based voting system a few streams ago. Yes.
Yes. Good.
Good shit.
Fuck yes.
Now, the best way I see is to run a bare bones political simulator browser game where people get assigned income and age relative to some actual county and vote on random things over time. That, whoa.
That's
that
a lot
improve
better
or
than
worsen their situation. Along with this, maybe ask them to, on random, to pretty please vote more moralistic or utilitarian. The users reason out what is there. Now, A, is anyone interested? B,
yes,
feature requests. And C, is there a platform that has data available for something like this already so we have additional stuff to pull from?
I know that like the Department of Labor, I think, has a lot of these statistics. I'm not super sure about if it's that department, but I know that there's some US fucking thing somewhere that has like a lot of these sort of like data points after a census of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely census data out there. StatsCan is the Canadian version of it, but it's interesting.
Please,
although a game
God,
getting somebody to vote for their economic interests in a browser game feels like it might be a problem because they know it's a game and it means that they can make more moralistic choices.
Yeah, like that would shift the results, I think, a little bit. I think a big part of that would like go into like feature requests in the idea of you would have to add so much detail about your like character in the game that you feel more invested in pursuing the goals of that character rather than yourself, right? You can't just be an age and an income.
Yeah.
You would need like a name, a place that you live, social circumstances, like at least a few things. Like they don't actually have to matter too much, but just to like make the character feel like a voter, so that like you can imagine them better and that you can sort of like immerse yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I'm thinking of how to remedy that.
There is another.
Yeah. No, you I guess you could also like ask the player to put in their real like age and income, so that you can sort of like correlate how, so you can see how strong the correlation is between the player and the characters. Because if there is a strong correlation, or rather if there's a weak correlation, that will mean the simulation is stronger.
Yeah. The CBC, there's a way the CBC does this, and I think it might be interesting as a way to do it. What the CBC does, which is the state broadcaster here in Canada, they, every election, do this little thing called the vote compass, or the vote tracker. And basically, it takes you in, asks you a bunch of demographic questions about yourself, and for every election, basically gives you a list of questions about all of the major issues of the election and what sort of side you take on them. And then it gives you an answer that basically shows what parties align closer to your political ideals. And then where you agree and where you disagree, and you can break it down. But I imagine it's also a data collection thing, because they do say that they collect it to do studies on voter behavior and stuff like that. But the way that I would think that would get better simulations of how this might go is looking at elections and then looking at demographic data like that, like exit poll numbers and stuff like that, and like distorting the results based on the theoretical different ways of weighing those different votes and then seeing what the results look like.
Yeah.
For anyone who it's their first time like hearing about this, it's basically this like really strange way of doing elections where it started with my theory that every election basically affects the future forever, and that the people who have the most amount of time to live in any election have the higher stakes, because what happens in this election will affect their lives for longer. Because every election, affects the future of the country. And so the idea would be is that elections should be weighted based on your but either basically on two factors. One, how much you economically could withstand major changes, i.e. your income, and two, how long the policies implemented by this government would actually affect you, your age. And basically it would weigh your vote based on inversely based on your income. So the higher your income, the less your vote would count. And furthermore, the age one is your vote would be weighted based on your age in relation to the average life expectancy of the country. So if the average life expectancy of the country is 80 and you're 20, then your vote will count 60 or will count for 60 votes, when like someone who's 79 would only count for one. And I always like cheekily was like, people older than 80 would have negative votes because that. But yeah, I imagine that would be probably very anti-democratic, and you'd probably have to just reduce it to one. But in my mind, it would result in elections where the people who have the most stake in the outcome of the election are the ones who get to decide.
Yeah. I honestly think it's going to be... Like, I would love to see a simulation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, legitimately, I would love it.
So I hope that Nuntus Mortis is here.
Well, they might see it, like, after, if they're not live.
Yeah.
But either way, like, if that simulation starts happening, if that browser game happens, let me know how I can help. And also, I need to play this so many times.
I would give up a sponsor slot to push this. If it was a game, I would give a sponsorship slot, but I would be like, hey, sign up for this thing for free.
For the purpose of statistics and meme democracy, we need to know.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it would be really good.
I like how somebody just said, I know the lore. And I'm like, this stream has lore.
The stream does have lore. The Monday Discourse lore.
Yeah, when we get this stream back after the break, we're going to have to make sure that everything works out. That we maintain the lore and the particular weird shitposting energy that it has.
And also, I'm just thinking, like, there's... like, I'm still working on, like, a map of, like, a unified Europe as China. So like there's a lot of lore that's gonna come back after you come back.
Nice. What's it called? The hyperspace empire of circa 2020 Earth, if the Battle of Tours was won by the frickin' I'm trying to remember what that caliphate was called. Not the Abbasids. Oh my god, I can't remember what... I used to know what the name of the Moroccan caliphate was called, but...
Yeah, I don't remember either, but I know which one you mean.
Yeah. So if the Andalusians had conquered Europe, and because of that, the Islamic world would not have had the same collapse by the Mongols, and therefore we would be living in the future.
I'm also just saying, none of us is advocating for this system to be implemented in real life.
Yet.
This is purely a meme democracy questions.
Or
also the Umayyads.
The Umayyads, yes, that's it. It's at the tip of my tongue.
I love this though. I'm looking forward for you to come back and we will have like a statistical data set of this voting system. What if it works great?
I imagine like something makes me like I don't like it's a meme, but also the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, this is actually like it makes sense. It's sort of like you know how like they say that instant runoff voting, which is an idea of doing elections where you it's kind of like a really intense version of the way that like French presidential elections work, where
Yeah.
basically you run all of the candidates, you rank all of the candidates from one to whatever, and then it simulates running several rounds of elections where the candidate that gets the least amount of votes gets eliminated each round. But instead of doing multiple elections in a row, you just end up with like this rank so that you end up the first person to get over 50% wins. Um, but instead, it's doing it for this election and all of the future elections based on who's going to be alive today in that election in the future. Or who's likely to anyway.
Oh God. Yeah, so like I love that. I love that. So we just have one election every 80 years.
Well, I don't think an election every 80 years, but like the thing is like if you vote this way like to me it's like this election will have like I think it's pretty easy to say that every election is going to have long-term consequences for the country you're in. Like I think the
Yeah.
big thing that made me think about this is like how boomers keep electing neoliberals who don't do anything about climate change because it's not going to affect the boomers. And it's like, well, you know, there's a lot of young people where climate change is going to affect them, and this election is going to make their lives a lot more terrible in the future. But but their say is as much as someone who's going to die in 10 years, and it's like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So that's about it. Um,
I want to see again. I want to see this in practice. I want to see how it works.
yeah.
It's probably like it. There are probably a few kinks in the armor, right, that we would need to sort out. But there's something here. People
Yeah.
didn't come up with communism on like one day. Like people started out simple.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention that it would always be like the way that elections work too, like the actual physical elections would always be about trying to politically activate and galvanize young people, which is something that we want to do anyway, isn't it? Isn't it? Don't we want to get young people more invested and involved?
Yeah.
And so like they would like elections would be very targeted to trying to get as many young voters as possible.
This would evolve into Fortnite political advertising.
Listen, there are worse things. And also, yeah, it also adds things to like conversations about the future, about like young people are having political discussions today that won't come into effect until they are the majority of the population. And this way, you could move forward the political conversation a lot faster. Like if you know
Yeah.
any Zoomers, you know that they're either communists or Nazis at this point. Um, there's no liberal Zoomers.
And like depend like yeah, because what this would do in effect is just shifting the political power to the younger side, and depending on how much you balance it, um, you know that depends on like how much you would want to shift that.
Yeah, and so you
Either
can be ahead of the
either way.
curve when it comes to everybody else, and that means that you'd be more responsive to the needs and demands of the future. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't dismiss it as much as possible, but also I have issues with the idea of representative democracy in general. So
Yeah.
and if I think that there's some more democratic ways of running countries that even if you have to have countries, that's my big issue. But if you have to have representative countries, that some like sortitionism and stuff like that is actually a better option.
Yeah.
But that's a more tough sell to be like, listen, it's more democratic where we don't have elections, but all of our politicians are chosen by a lottery, just a random set of people. And you just like jury duty or whatever, you have to do your years as a politician.
Yeah. I would be down for like like giga parliament in the sense of like it is a random selection, but instead of having like 300 representatives, you have like 3,000. So it's actually like a kind of random sampling of the general population.
Yeah. That way, the way that solves the big problem of elections, which is that election representatives and people who get involved in politics at that level are self-selected people who want power.
Yes.
When the best the quiet nerdy cool people, or the himbos, or all of the good wholesome souls that are good people and therefore don't want power, don't want to be politicians, could be the ones in power, instead of literally being like, all right, we're gonna have this thing where we give tons of decisions over the life and death of people to people. Like we're gonna only choose people who see that and then intentionally say, oh, I want that.
Yeah, it's worked for some cultures.
Yeah. All right, next question we got here is, in Inuit mythology, Sedna was the goddess of the sea/underworld who would use her powers over the fish and marine mammals to punish mortals for their mistreatment of nature. First of all, based. I love the idea that the Inuit, the underworld, is the sea. That makes so much sense.
Makes perfect sense, yeah.
And that's some
I'd never thought about that, but it makes, yeah.
Yeah. The way to fix this was by shamans, who were often trans/two-spirited people, traveling to the spirit realm to comb her hair as a sign of respect. Based. So could we just get all the transphobes onto a cruise ship, have someone tell Sedna about what the transphobes keep doing to the nice people who keep combing her hair, and then sit back and watch? This goddess sounds fucking base, though. Holy shit.
Sounds very good, yeah.
Just like how there's one of the most prevalent monsters in Inuit mythology is called the Aklut, which is like a humanoid orca.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about Inuit mythology. I need to look into it though.
Mm-hmm. The wildest, the wildest history that I know is that before the Columbian Exchange, people didn't know this, but it was true. Turned out later is the Columbian Exchange happened, and then the Europeans met indigenous people, and it's the Inuit and Norse sailors had been running into each other for centuries, right? Not even just Leif Erikson, but there was in I think it was a Norwegian church, they had a canoe, an Inuit canoe that they had captured at some point, and they just kept it. And Vikings would just capture Inuit people as slaves and sell sell them around and stuff like that. And it's oh, the world's not as not connected as we think it is.
Yeah, because the fucking Vikings, they would go north too. It's just that isn't as much written down about, just because they didn't write that much down.
Mm-hmm. And also
compared to the French,
they were too busy writing about people being there, or text being big, or this is very high.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I mean. That's Vikings would occasionally write stuff down. The French would write stuff down all the time, which is why we the French and the British would write stuff down all the time, right? So that's why we have so much Viking legend about Vikings going to England and France to raid, even though they more often probably went to Russia, but they didn't write as much stuff down then in that area.
The Vikings were
as remembered.
They were should we write about these strange people we met on the ice? And they're no, I'm spending all of my writing energy to tell people that this antler belongs to me, or that this is an antler. That is it. This is an antler.
I'm spending half of my life savings to make a big rock that says my name.
Yeah. I loved how it seems you could interpret most runic writing as Dadaist shitposting. Just like this is very high, and just like because like I don't know, their writing was so like they had their like epics and sagas and stuff like that, but so much of their writing was not even like their name. It would literally like I said, the nuttiest one was the antler. That's just what's written on it is antler.
Yes.
Like they just labeled it.
This is an antler. Antler. Just like labeling shit.
It's just like it's that part's wild. But yeah, they met Inuit people for a long time. This is a rock and it is mine. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that I'm playing with a fidget spinner and Phoebe like now wants to. This is gonna get I think this will make good content. There you go. But yeah, like we were talking about Sedna, the Inuit goddess of the underworld. See, this is why D&D mythology stuff is always so basic. And it's like there's so much more sweet ass mythology to play with.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. I'm currently in a D&D campaign where we're playing Curse of Strahd, and they have apparently made some serious edits to it lately to make the their version of the Roma people a bit more accurate and sensitive. And so I'm curious as to what that's going to look like when we actually get to it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I still haven't played Curse of Strahd. I need to get into that.
Yeah, it's so far it's fun. We just finished the Death House, which is like a haunted house first level thing, and we almost died. It was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we just had to sell our souls to Strahd in like the 4th session to not die. It's fine. It's fine. It's good.
Yeah. I'm sure. That's just something that happens, I guess.
All right. Santa Nicolau asks, suppose that tomorrow all forms of oppression disappear. Okay. Do problematic jokes become A, nonsensical because there's no racism to laugh at, or B, silly jokes like Italian jokes? Also, what happens to punching up jokes and the like about white people? Do they become problematic because everyone is equal, or do they continue?
I would think that they would continue in a light-hearted spirit. Because you can make like jokes, like stereotypical jokes about other people in a non-offensive way, or in a way that doesn't contribute to like a negative stereotype, or to contribute to like a negative, like oppressive structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is possible, and because like I occasionally hear like cis guys make jokes about like trans women, good fashioned wholesome way that doesn't play with transphobia, but also doesn't play into sort of like transphobic tendencies. Like it's neither sort of like making fun of transphobes or trans people. It's just observational humor, but like about another group. And I think that will always be able to be on, because you can always play with the sort of like, you can always play with the idea of like the other in a non-offensive way.
Yeah, your audio just dropped in quality quite a bit just a second ago. I don't know if you're holding it different or something, but...
Okay, sorry. No, I accidentally connected up to my to my earbuds that are like halfway away.
Okay. Well, it sounds good now.
Great. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
No, the idea was that like since you can always like make fun of the other, in a way that doesn't play with like harmful stereotypes or contribute or like make fun of the harmful stereotypes. I think that would always be around, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Irish and Italian jokes are always funny is because it's like a historical prejudice that doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, I think it's different in Europe. I feel like there's still like some... there seems to be some like anti-Southern European prejudice in Europe, but
Yeah, I'm not sure that is super aimed at Italians as much. But I mean, like, I think that's sort of also like, are there individual cases? Probably, but like, is there like a structural fundament uh, that like that jokes like that would play into? Not really, right? Like, there's not like anti-Italian discrimination laws, or really like a cultural stigma either. Like, uh, there's not a because I'm not just saying that laws matter, but like there's no real structure, but alluding to a fictional structure of oppression can be funny, like making fun of like yeah, like cis people being oppressed by gender cops, like transgender cops, like that's kind of funny because there isn't an oppressive structure there, but you're sort of like alluding to a fictional one in this hypothetical.
Yes. And sometimes sometimes that's a tough needle to thread, but if you're funny, you can do it.
Yeah,
Um,
real comedians can do fun jokes.
on that kind of vein though, what's the wildest thing to me, and maybe you have a bit of an answer to this. So like the stereotype about Italians, there's a bunch. But like one of the big stereotypes about Italians is that, oh, like, they take 2 hour naps in the afternoon and they like barely work and they have their 6 hour dinners with everybody. And so they're just kind of like, they're chill and lazy and don't do anything and they're not very hardworking or industrious. And then I'm like, bruh, like, aren't they like their biggest industry is like is engineering, and they're like well known for making like the most expensive fancy cars in the world. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you mix those two things together?
Also, you have received a super chat.
Yes. Oh, yes, 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 yes. I was gonna get to that. All right, sideways Mia. Or back. Has the superhero trend over fetishized vigilantism and fascist tendencies, particularly among fan bases? Why do fans on the left quickly dismiss and downplay the fascist elements of superheroes?
I don't think there's too much dismissal. I think there is a downplay of it because I think superheroes themselves don't necessarily have to play into like fascist elements, although there are definitely some that do. But I think a critique among leftists is more that like people on the far right imprint their own like fascist ideology onto superheroes and like vigilantism and like superheroism. And I don't think the problem there is necessarily with the superheroes, rather with the fascists like imprinting their own thing about it. Say like a similar thing I think is happening in many subcultures where like fascists will imprint their own ideology like on Viking history, on cowboys, on the Roman Empire, etc., etc. Like, but none of these things are necessarily sort of like. I don't think any of those things like fetishize fascism. Rather, it's the other way around. Like fascism fetishizes the trends.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
There's two ways to look at it, because like the thing is like superheroes started off as American literature, and there is a very troublesome aspect of American culture, a sort of trope in American culture about the solo vigilante doing justice in like a lawless land. It's basically the like rationale behind things like lynching and like a lot of Kyle Rittenhouse type activities. But that is, while that is like a lot of the ways that a lot of superhero fiction has been adopted, especially by sort of later white writers, the idea that that's how it always has been and that's where it started is not. Like, the first superhero you could argue is like Gilgamesh, who existed before there even were white people. But a time before whites. It was a better time.
Do you know that scene from The Simpsons where a lawyer just asks like, imagine a world without lawyers, and it's just like people all over the world holding hands in harmony under a rainbow.
Yeah, exactly.
The Lamb Before Whites.
But I think that the important one, and there's a really great Jacob Geller video about this that I think a lot of people should look at when thinking about this, which is that superheroes as we know them today, a lot of the very early comic book creators who made the first superheroes, they were all Jews. And one of the powerful cultural aspects or cultural figures in Jewish culture is something called the golem, which was this idea of a clay, like a man made of clay, with the Hebrew letter Aleph written on its forehead, that would basically act as a guardian of the oppressed Jews in various cities and places around Europe, and basically that this golem, this thing that was partially made by God, or partially like a little bit of the spark that created humans, were these silent, stalwart protectors of the oppressed, and that was more in the cultural zeitgeist of the people who made Superman the first superhero, right? And the people who because all of freaking maybe not Stan Lee, but Jack Kirby was Jewish. Steve Ditko was Jewish, although Steve Ditko ended up becoming a shitty fucking objectivist. But I think that's an important part of seeing superheroes. And while there's a lot of writers who have taken it kind of like how fascists took the idea of the superhero to make it their kind of, it's like an Ubermensch doing will to power over people. Just keep in mind the furthest thing from fascists, which is poor Brooklyn Jews, were the people who made the first superheroes, and that it comes from a different thing. Stan Lee was Jewish? Okay. I thought so, because but that was only because virtually every early comic book writer was Jewish. Leibowitz was his last name. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I think that there's a really great Jacob Geller who I think secretly is the best video essayist, because he makes videos about topics I could not care less about, and then I care about them so much. Has a video on the golem and the sort of Jewish role in the creation of superheroes that I think is really important to bring up.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I know, because I ran a D&D campaign where I had 2 Jewish players in the party, and so I made a homage to the golem in one of the adventures. Because Jewish mythology is really cool, and you can still I think if you go to Prague, there is a synagogue there where you can actually see a golem type statue or something like that.
Yeah, it's the Golem of Prague or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm. The Golem of Prague is probably the most well-known golem story. But yeah, but to think of it as a semi-divine protector of the oppressed is a better way to think of superheroes than the Ubermensch sort of will to power thing.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. Okay, here we go. What do you think of other big History Channel shows like Modern Marvels, Pawn Stars, or American Pickers?
Sorry, could you take the beginning of that again?
So the question is, what do you think of other big History Channel shows? And then in brackets it has Pawn Stars, Modern Marvels, and American Pickers. I'm guessing as opposed to Ancient Aliens, which I guess my take on is now thoroughly explored.
What the fuck is going on with the History Channel? In the last decade?
I could tell you, but also Matt Lipton, thank you for the $5 super chat. Actually, the early comics industry was surprisingly diverse. The first graphic novel was created by a black man that fucking
What?
owns. I will just, I think that you make a good point. I will also just mention though that there is a lot of Judaism in early comic books. That very very influential. But yes, sorry. Back on this thing about History Channel. So what happened with History Channel?
They lost ratings, I guess.
I think so. So like, I feel like competing with the internet caused like revenue rates to go down for television in like the early 2000s, because that's when like reality TV became the norm, and that's when like a lot of educational shows or educational channels rebranded to really not have that much education on it, to the point where the History Channel now makes fiction. Like they have the show Vikings.
I know. That's a History Channel show, and I hate that it is. I hate that it is. Because I like Vikings. It's a nice show. It does not belong on the History Channel. It's fiction. Odin makes a physical appearance in the show.
Yeah.
Ragnar Lothbrok is semi-legendary.
But like also, yeah, Pawn Stars, I've heard that like Pawn Stars is very much like exploiting people's lack of knowledge or people's poverty in order to like, you know, fuck them out of like tons of money.
Yeah.
Which that sucks. Modern Marvels is like, it's fine. It's the standard, like, you know, Discovery Channel documentary show about, hey, look, we built big building. How build big building? Here is story of build big building.
They do love big building shows.
Yeah, build big building. How big building big? And then American Pickers, I think, is people who buy like defaulted storage, not Storage Wars, but I mean, it's reality TV, and I'll be honest, I have never really found reality TV all that interesting. So that's me.
And like someone mentioned in chat that it's like it's a lot cheaper to make than actual TV.
Oh yeah.
So it just sucks. It sucks. I would yeah, but I guess the same niche is now filled by places like, I mean, like CuriosityStream, right? Or YouTube. Like people can search for history documentaries now like fairly easily. That was the niche that they had, where it was just history docs. So it doesn't really work as a TV channel anymore. Unfortunate, but still.
Yeah, because like the other thing too is that like Discovery and History all decided to do like alternate channels where they do their actual educational stuff. Like now there is a channel called Discovery Science, which is Discovery where it has the science. And there's H2, which is the history channel that has history on it.
It's such a like slapstick MacGyvered solution to a problem of like trying to stay alive in the modern age.
I will say that I have like a 2 levels of connection away from some of the people who are involved with Pawn Stars, so I won't be too mean to that show. But
Oh.
I have, and also like the degrees of separation have to do with people who like are public figures and don't want that connection to be made. But
Fair.
So, but yeah, like, but so I'll go easy on Pawn Stars, but I want to express my bias there. Yeah. That's the majority of this whole thing. I really wish History Channel. I wish that education was profitable, and I mean, it's got to be at least somewhat profitable because for $15, I got an entire year of CuriosityStream. I don't know how the hell they pulled that off, but it works.
I know.
I watched a whole documentary about like future, like how different technologies are trying to address climate change on CuriosityStream, and it was It was baller, and it had Patrick Stewart, and I'm like, you can't get Patrick Stewart with $15 a year.
Oh, but you can.
Maybe Patrick Stewart's just bored. I don't know.
I feel like he got bored of doing some things, and I think he just wants to like get back in the game a little bit. Like he took some time off, and now he wants to get back.
Voiceovering documentaries feels like it's like the easiest way to make a few bucks if you're like a celebrity of some kind.
Especially if you have like a distinctive voice. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
but yeah.
Stephen Fry, Brian Blessed, and Patrick Stewart is like the holy trinity of people who can just like churn out documentaries forever.
Although sometimes that can get you in trouble, like how Kate Mulgrew ended up being in a anti-heliocentrism documentary.
Fuck, I gotta rewatch that. That's such a good video essay.
Yeah. That's another contender for best video essayist is Folding Ideas. Jacob Geller and Folding Ideas, I'm like, I will drop everything the second one of their videos comes out. But luckily for Folding Ideas, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Because Dan has a day job in actual TV, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah, his job's really cool. He's like, he works for television, and he's the person who does data management. So he's the person who on set, they keep feeding him like the steady stream of SD cards as they fill them. And he has to like unload all the SD cards onto hard drives and make sure that all of the footage is like, you know, tagged and titled and organized, and then clear off the SD card and get it back on set so they can film again. So he's like constantly doing like this stream of SD cards. Like the data management person on set is very important, and that's what Dan does as his day job.
Yeah, damn. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. And also he does a lot of freelance work for Lindsay Ellis. Okay. The next question we got here is, this is a totally unserious question for one of the last streams of the year. You got the last stream of the year. All right.
Got it.
Ooh, it's even well on brand. In the Santa Claus 3. Okay.
Yes.
In the Santa Claus. Oh man. Okay.
The Santa Claus lore, yes.
In the Santa Claus 3, Tim Allen's character, Santa Claus, has to disguise the North Pole as Canada, so his parent-in-laws would not know that it was the North Pole. This involved having everyone wear knitted hats, explaining elves away by saying that Canadians are shorter, and a store known as the Canadian Bacon Exchange. How realistic is this, and what else would he have done to make it more realistic?
I've seen this. I remember this. God, that's a good movie.
Oh my goodness. What could he have done to make the North Pole elves into Canadians and have it be more realistic? Ooh. I'm trying to think of like a stereotype, a thing that's not a stereotype about Canada, but really should be. Because like some
more about Canada.
What are like more standard things about everyone? Like complaining about the weather is like the only thing that anybody has conversations about if you don't know each other. But I feel like that's just a universal human thing.
Yeah.
God. This feels like a question I should have an easier time answering. You know what? All right, here's the one, which is that he should have put Tim Hortons is everywhere, but then make sure that none of the elves go and that they all say that they think the McDonald's coffee is better. And then tell that story 1,000 times about how McDonald's bought the Tim Hortons coffee supply chain, and that's why their coffee tastes like the old Tim Hortons and the new Tim Hortons is bad. Complaining about how new Tim Hortons is bad and how McDonald's coffee is better is a very Canadian thing to do. Because we have very important opinions about coffee that costs like $1.50. Like, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You just barked from Timbits. Cool. Yeah, they'll do that. Timbits are when you take the stuff, like the batter that you would use to make a donut, but you roll it into a small, like, maybe like 3 or 4 centimeter ball. And then you just eat like 10 of those.
I can't wait to visit Canada one day. I need to learn the Canadian ways.
Yeah, in America they call them donut holes. All right, Meow Nyan, thank you for the $5 super chat. Stereotypical Canadian thing, reminding people that Canada exists and how some things are Canadian. Politely interjecting, of course. Of course, yes. Canadians do have to point out every time a celebrity song or thing is Canadian, so that we don't get forgotten. We do that. We do that way too much. Because otherwise it might just go under the radar. And also because everything, because it can be very easy to mistake a Canadian thing for an American thing.
Yeah, and that can't happen.
No.
That's heinous.
Exactly. Okay, here's the next one here. This is good. How important was beer to the development of civilization?
Critical, foundational.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even a joke.
Yep. Partially sterilizing water, having drinkable calories, having shelf-stable food, shelf-stable calories that you could just put in a barrel for months.
The development of distilling alcohol for purification of other things generally, and just chemistry, very important.
Yeah, that was more done during the Islamic Empire, but the beginning of realizing, we can do chemistry on these things.
Yeah.
But beer was, people used to get paid in beer.
So many ideas of economics and trade because beer is one of the first traded goods. It's one of the very first in human nature produced goods that you can't just make out of nothing. If you farm, you pull something out of the ground and you're done. But a beer is something that people can. You have to buy a good, convert a good, and then sell that good further, and that is something that is that's pretty huge in human development, even past the stage of agriculture generally.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to have a whole class of people who don't need to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
And that also happened with baking, but baking is more simple than the chemical process of brewing. So, yeah. It's actually foundational to human civilization.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, someone just pointed out that there is a decent theory that beer was the reason that we decided to move to agriculture. The agricultural revolution might have beer to thank for it.
Maybe.
Because it also is mildly addictive, so there is that too.
Mm-hmm. Because even baking, people did baking before they did agriculture. Because you can just gather stuff around, wild things, and bake that stuff. You can even make that into flour and bake that. But making beer basically requires permanent settlement.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Makes safer to drink water. It's easy to make, and it makes more long-term stable calories, and those all have huge impacts. For the longest time, before beer became sort of this alcoholic beverage that we drink to get drunk, it was just a staple of everyday food. You would beer was like the Soylent of its day.
Kinda, yeah. Has calories. You can mix it into basically anything. It's kinda safe to have in everything. Yep. And you can shelve it for a long time.
Yep. Matt Lipton, thank you for one more super chat. Thank you. I'm doing a Masks campaign. Masks is a tabletop role-playing game for teenage superheroes. First session has a girl possessed by a Scottish demon, Claymore, superhuman anarchists, and a mute Swedish telepath. Well, sounds like you're off to a good start.
It's good that the Swede is mute, so no Swedish dialect has to be used.
No, you have to know accent.
No Swedish accent.
Every time my Swedish accent is instantly a Norwegian accent.
Please do a Swedish accent now, please. I would like to hear one.
Sure. My name is Olaf. I like to do the Like, it's just this sort of lilting thing is more of a Norwegian thing, if I remember correctly, isn't it?
Yes, you are very correct. That is more a Norwegian thing. I think the Swedish accent and dialect is more like in the back of the mouth, and more enunciated, consonants. Swedish people really like pronouncing their consonants as much as possible.
Yeah, I just do the voices from the accents from Norsemen, one of the which should have been a History Channel original.
It should have been. That show is baller.
All right, let me try one more time. All right, so yeah, overdoing the consonants. All right. Horsky, 14, Morstein, Fursty, Porterdis. How's that?
That's wonderful, yeah. You nailed it.
Yep, there we go. Got it.
Bork, bork, bork.
Bork, bork, bork. All right, Phoebe's just slashed up my arm trying to jump onto the table, so that's fun.
Oh no.
She couldn't jump high enough because she's getting old.
No.
I mean, getting old. She's 10.
Yeah.
Or 11, which is like middle-aged for a cat.
Yeah.
All right. Another lighthearted question for the last stream. Sorry. Don't be sorry. This was necessary. I'm liking that we have not gone to like the darkest places imaginable. That's for the last few, because we've got some 255 questions, and those are always just dark as fuck. All right. Another lighthearted question. How would you rank the Star Trek head of engineering for the various shows? And then they cheat by saying at the end you can include Chief O'Brien. So obviously at number 1 is Chief O'Brien. There's no mixing that one. Last place I would put fucking Charles Tripp Tucker III, who sucked and everybody hated him.
He's not that bad.
He looked like George Bush. I didn't like that.
He did look like George Bush. And talk like George Bush. And act like George Bush.
Mm-hmm. Jordy?
Was he based on George Bush?
I don't think so. I hope not.
He might have been. The more I'm thinking about it, the more it makes sense.
I mean, he was like he was from Florida. And I know because Space 9/11 happened in Florida, so that he could have a personal connection with it.
Wonderful.
All right. Okay. So number 2. All right. So I'm trying to think. Okay, who we got on the list here? We've got Montgomery Scott.
Yes.
Then we got Geordi, and we got B'Elanna. And
yeah.
Now
I think Geordi is probably a strong second.
Yeah. Then we've also got Jet Reno. And I'm trying to remember who the new engineer, the ace engineer from Lower Decks. I don't remember what his name is. Who has a mustache?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, have you not? You haven't watched the season 2 of Lower Decks, have you?
No, I've been busy. I haven't seen it.
All right, there's a whole episode where he's the chief engineer, but like he comes from a planet of humans who Billups, that's his name. Yeah, Lieutenant Billups. And he's from a planet of humans who have gone and colonized a planet, and they're like all LARPers. So like they have like medieval fantasy themed everything in their culture, and they run into his mom's ship. And the thing is that he's ace, but he's like the prince regent of his planet, and so his mom keeps trying to trick him into having sex so that he can like have so that they can make like so that he can, because he has to have sex in order to claim the title of the throne or something. So they have like a whole like Loxana Troy type episode where she's trying to trick him into having sex.
Oh my god.
It's and then it turns out he's secretly like super ripped. It's really great. Billups is pretty good. And then, so you got B'Elanna, you've got Geordi, you've got Scotty, you've got Billups, And then you've got Jet Reno, who is played by, and this is kind of cheating because Jet Reno's played by Tig Carano, who's hilarious. Or Tig Notaro, sorry. And I think that's all of them. I don't know if you want to count the the emergency engineering hologram from friggin' Picard, but those are.
Yeah. No, I don't. But yeah.
Thank you, by the way, Juicy Ord, for the $10 super chat. No text, but appreciated. So okay, because the thing is,
Jordy is definitely second, right?
Yeah,
like
Jordy rules. He's got such a he's got the thing about that you know about Jordy from watching TNG is that out of all of them, he seems like the best boss. Like he shows a lot of times of showing very good leadership skills and supporting his underlings and really being like an energetic, motivating team player. Oh yeah, that reminds me that there's a Lower Decks episode where they show that what's her name, Sonia something, became a captain. The freaking ensign who spilled hot chocolate on Picard in the engineering thing. Like, do you remember this episode? She was kind of a recurring character for a bit, where she was like this engineering ensign who was really clumsy and spills hot chocolate on Picard in one scene, and I
have a vague memory of this, yeah.
So they have an episode later on with the same actor where she became a captain in Lower Decks. It's awesome.
That's great. God, I need to. I still need to finish up my Stargate binge session so I can get back into Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
I alternate between these two shows.
Sonia Gomez, that's the name. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Geordi. I know that this is gonna be a controversial take, but my number 3 is gonna be Jet Reno, who is just objectively the best character on Discovery. So,
I can see that. I'll agree with that.
And then maybe I'll put Scooty. Scooty, he's fun. He's one of the more fun, overt stereotype characters of the original show.
Yeah, and then everyone else I'm just gonna lump in the bottom, I think.
Okay, well, let's see who we got. All we got left is but yeah, we got Billups, Lieutenant Billups, who you haven't watched episodes with him yet, but he is pretty great. I'm gonna give you a picture of him. I think maybe this will give you. I want to see if I can find a picture of him with his where he's ripped. Because it's hilarious. But yeah, I'll just give you a picture of him because I can't find the one where his shirt's off. But
that's fine. Just send me anything. Oh, that guy. Yeah, I haven't seen that much about that guy yet.
Yeah, he gets more stuff in season 2. It's really good. Yeah, so that's where I'm gonna go. Yeah, someone pointed out this is a very controversial thing to say, but I agree. I think that TOS is kind of meh, but I think Scotty more than makes up for it in the movies. He more than makes up for it for Captain There Be Whales Here. So.
I also just think that yeah. I mean, regarding TOS, I don't like. Yeah, I think the show is kind of meh, but it's something that it's something that you watch once for the history of it.
Oh, you want to know?
Watch everything else for it actually being fun.
Yeah, you want to know a reason to watch Lower Decks season 2? This is a clip from one episode.
Oh God.
Yeah, they do an episode. Well, they do an episode where they're getting they're going to Starfleet training, testing how good they are at stuff, and they do a bunch of hologram sessions that are all them recreating scenarios from different Star Trek episodes, and one of them gets the naked now and walks in on an orgy happening in 10 forward.
I need to. Well, I know what I'm doing tonight. I'm gonna watch Lower Decks.
Yeah. Oh man, could be the best Star Trek. We don't know. It's pretty good though. Hey, thank you, James Gilman, for the $5 super chat. I wish you and yours a happy solstice and happy new year. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Did we? I think we ranked all the engineers. Balana had some good moments, but unfortunately, like many things with Voyager, good characters with bad writers that made well, not always bad writers, but the show was underwhelming for how good the premise and a lot of the characters were.
Yeah.
There is
someone asked if you mentioned the Orville engineer, like that slime ball from the Orville. Not ironically, a pretty decent engineer.
Yeah, and R.I.P. because he's played by Norm Macdonald too.
Oh yeah, fuck! I didn't realize.
Yeah, Yaphet.
I didn't realize. Fuck, that's awful.
Mm-hmm. There's a new season of that coming out next year too. Oh man, next year's gonna be wild for TV. There's a lot of TV that I'm like really looking forward to in 2022.
Yeah, there's speculation of a Stargate reboot.
Yeah.
Speaking of this thing.
There's what's it called? The new Q season of Picard. There's the Critical Role TV show that I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah.
There's not Game of Thrones, the Lord of the Rings show. Comes out next year in September.
Yeah. I'm skeptical about that one.
Yeah, I was excited until the Wheel of Time came out, and the Wheel of Time was ungood, and makes me not want to watch. Makes me worried about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. It seems like Amazon isn't great at making shows.
Well, Man in the High Castle was pretty good.
Yeah, but it's one of the few ones.
Yeah. There was that Amazon show that does like memory uploading that was pretty good. I think it was called Upload. It's about like the digital afterlife, which I thought was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, you're right.
Amazon does, and also the seasons of The Expanse they picked up. So it has, and Invincible. Yeah, it's solid. It's got they've done some good stuff. It's just that they've had a couple very big budget shitty shows. And anyways, adapting the Wheel of Time, which I have said is the series that has made every single trope of high fantasy, because that book series made every single mistake that high fantasy authors make. It is the example of I really don't like the Wheel of Time. And the TV show lives up to the reputation of the books to me.
Yeah.
Wait, the show is overly long and doesn't go anywhere, and the characters are just cardboard cutouts for a world building that's highly uninspired? Oh, okay. Tristan has seen Invincible. Yes, I have seen Invincible. It is good. We talked about how you look like Shrinking Ray. Or no.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that her name was?
Yeah, Shrinking Ray.
Yeah.
Shrink Ray.
You said cosplay idea.
Yeah, I have a lot of cosplay ideas that I need to get into.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question we got here is, do you think cable and dish television will go away soon? It seems like since online streaming became prominent in the early 2010s, the focus on TV has gone down greatly every year since.
Just as how radio is slowly dying out, it will eventually die out, but it will remain in some form or another.
Yeah.
Like a lot of radio here in Sweden is like they're not broadcasting anymore on like the radio frequencies, but they're still broadcasting like online, so you can still listen to them. Like they're still doing their thing. They're just doing it online instead of like on the literal airwaves. And I think that like TV would probably do something else. Like the delivery method is probably going to change a little bit to go with the times, but the format will be around in maybe a limited form, like with radio.
Yeah, because like I can't think of a new TV show that has like really gripped everybody that is airing on like cable or dish or anything like that. It's all streaming now. And so like when I'm always just like, what the hell's going on like normie TV that the boomers are watching? And it's like it's reality TV shows. It's extremely low effort scripted shows like I think this says a lot that the most popular show I think on regular normie TV is like a spin-off of Big Bang Theory. That's the yeah, exactly. It's just like yeah, it's just crime procedurals and freaking reality shows.
Yeah.
And even then, every big reality show I hear about is on Netflix now. So
Yeah, I mean it's cornering that market too, right? Like it's getting in there.
so really like if we can find a way to make streaming work for live news, like live things, and which I've seen like there's been some decent like live events done on streaming and sports. I feel like if you crack the nut of sports, I feel like there's a non-zero amount,
Yeah.
like a pretty decent amount of people who keep their cable subscription because of sports. That's my guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Like
That's a good point.
I'm trying to think like every millennial I know who has a cable subscription has it for sports.
Yeah.
Like yeah, everybody remembers your friend who has cable when it's FIFA time, right? Or World Cup time. I don't know. I don't know how crazy Sweden gets for World Cup. I just imagine pretty crazy.
Oh, the fucking insane.
Yeah.
Because we like to think that we can win, but we never do.
That reminds me. That's another 2022 thing is we're going to have the fucking cursed FIFA World Cup during a pandemic in the middle of a desert.
Yes.
The fucking Qatar World Cup or whatever.
Like, half those teams are just gonna die, right?
Yeah. The Qatar World Cup and furthermore during a pandemic, it's going to be something.
It's gonna be a lot of I mean, you know when you can just like feel the ground trembling because of discourse?
Yeah.
Like I feel like something's coming.
Yep. The Beijing Olympics is also probably going to be a shit show.
Yes.
So next year,
Yeah.
next 2022 is going to have a lot of stuff, and hopefully, if my wildest optimistic dreams about Omicron that it's like the less deadly version of the pandemic that'll outcompete the other ones and turn it into an epidemic instead of a pandemic, means that 2022 might be better.
But do I have bad news for you?
Oh, is it
Because
deadly?
a recent study came out that showed that it doesn't have smaller symptoms.
Great.
It just spreads more. It just spreads more.
Wonderful. Okay.
As far as I heard anyway. Like I might be wrong, but
Because I was seeing
I saw some study today that just like according to some studies, like if you get it, you're just as likely to develop like bad symptoms as you were with the Delta variant. You're just like way more likely to catch it.
fun. I hope that something comes through because, yeah, like,
Yeah, I'm tired of this.
the thing about Omicron is that it's going to like, I've seen this like in Ontario, we're having situations where we're having like the most cases we've ever had, but like 0 deaths, which makes me a little bit more optimistic. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe just everyone will get it, and then we'll all have what's it called, the herd immunity thing just imposed on us.
Yeah, and so from what I've read, it does seem like that is like a part of why deaths are low. Like vaccines are still fucking effective, and also there's an element of herd immunity, but there's also and all of these things combined just mean that and high testing. There's like super high testing now because people are worried about them. So reporting is higher than ever, and also people are more protected than ever, which means that the disparity between like recorded cases and deaths is higher than ever.
So it only appears worse because of higher reporting. So what you're saying is Sweden is the COVID capital of the world.
That's a good reference.
Oh boy.
Or at least our new government is finally doing something. You finally have to have a vaccine passport to go to the movies and shit. At last.
Did you see that wild thing from like yesterday where some Swedish company was like, what if we like implanted a microchip in people that allowed them to have their vaccine status on it? And everyone's like, please stop saying things like this. Like, stop like blatantly saying what the conspiracy theorists are saying, but like as a good thing.
No. I'm so sorry for the rest of the world. Fucking Swedish influencers, or like Swedish tech bros inventing fucking microchips for the vaxxed. Just like, stop. You dumb shit.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. We've got 4 more questions and 20 more minutes. Let's do this.
We can do it.
All right. Is it bad to ask? Okay, now we're getting into the dark stuff. Is it bad to ask for explanations why stuff like misgendering is bad that run deeper than because it'll hurt people's feelings if you do it? So someone uses neo-pronouns, but you casually refer to them with them or they in a context when you'd normally refer to anyone as they or them, regardless of their chosen pronouns. Earlier today, I got into an argument with somebody about if that constitutes misgendering. Ultimately, the other person just got frustrated and told me I shouldn't do it if it makes that person uncomfortable. So when I first had the general concept of misgendering explained to me, I was given a similar justification, and as a result, I viewed it as a thing you only had to bother avoiding when you were directly interacting with a trans person in order to avoid hurting their feelings. Since then, I've heard less emotion-reliant arguments and convinced me it's wrong to misgender someone, even in my own head. Whew. Said like a true British person.
I mean, like gendering people is a complicated thing. Is more complicated than we think it is, because it's something that like a lot of us do. Like it's a learned behavior that everyone does, and that has historically been like so normalized to do that like changing the way you think about gendering someone is almost impossible, because because on a societal level it's not something that we think about. But at the same time, it is something that is like pretty important, and that like it's done for a variety of reasons, and one of those reasons is so that the people involved in the conversations are comfortable, but also it is to sort of demonstrate to a larger group like their identity. So like if I'm talking about person A to person B and C, for example, the way I talk about person A will reflect the general vibe that I expect the conversation in general to have against that person. So if you correctly gender someone, you're sort of spreading the idea that people have like a right to self-determination, and that people have the right to be referred to as they want to, even if you're not talking to that person. Whereas if you don't gender them correctly, you're sort of doing the opposite. When talking about and that is pretty important, but it's also something that even a lot of trans people don't necessarily want to sort of like invest a lot of energy into fixing when other people do it wrong, because a lot of people do it wrong, and it's not something that you want to work on forever. So some people overcorrect to the point where they want to use like a very like blatantly correct pronoun, even when it's grammatically incorrect, in order to sort of signal this even more. So like if they want someone to use neopronouns, even if like you would correctly gender them by using they them pronouns, because that's how you would refer to anyone in a given situation. I would say that the person who would correct you for using that word would be wrong, but it's very understandable why they would think that they're right, because that is sort of that is where they're coming from in regards to like the larger conversation of correct gendering. Does that make sense? I know there was a lot of big word salad.
Yeah. For like to kind of wade into that conversation, like I have to admit that, and this is why I'm gonna like reserve my take making because this is how I do things. I don't know that much about neopronouns. I haven't done the reading on that yet, so I can't speak to having thoughts on it because I don't do that unless I have read something about it. But something makes me think that that if you go by neopronouns, that like the place where our culture is when it comes to neopronouns is that I imagine that it's that you'd have to expect a different level of recognition, given not so much that's how it should be, but that's kind of the way culture is.
Yeah.
And I would love to see what the sort of thing about neopronouns are. Probably some work I'll have to do because this is showing a lot of ignorance on my part. And as far as like is there like ways to talk about gender in a way that, and especially pronoun usage, in a like outside of like don't misgender people because it'll hurt their feelings, and that being the only explanation. This feels like very much, and I hate assigning homework on this, but this feels very much like the discussion in a video about a character by the name of Your Dad in a Philosophy Tube video about trans people. I can't remember what the name of the video is, but
it's just called transphobia.
Just transphobia? Okay.
Yeah. Transphobia and analysis, I think.
Yeah, and it's a video about a character by the name of Your Dad who basically only sees correct pronoun usage and gendering as a point of politeness, but that it actually goes deeper than that. And in many ways, it comes to like, if you really like, if you really believe that this person is you have to like get through to yourself the sort of understanding of gender as not the assigned gender at birth, but like that it's a much more complicated thing than that. And if you internalize that, then that you don't need to correct someone's pronouns in your head because that's just what they are.
Yeah.
Like I will freely admit, and this will make me sound a little crappy, but like in my head, I still have to do some cycles of thinking for the friends of mine who go by they them pronouns. Like I have to my brain still has to do a slight bit more thinking in order to do that correctly, and I still do it, and hopefully I'll get there. But it's because I understand the reasoning why, but like it also like. I don't think there should be any guilt in realizing that like adopting new language does take work.
Yeah, and I also think that like it's something that's like, because language is so ingrained from us from the beginning, like actively changing the way we like see, oftentimes a like pretty foundational part of language can take some time. I still like struggle with pronouns as well. Like as a trans person, you'd think I'd have a better grasp on it, but I don't.
Yeah, it works. Our brains sometimes change, like changing things, especially things like pronouns, which are like a huge part of the way that we use language, can be difficult to change. But it's something that you should, and as you're thinking about gender changes, you'll want to, and you'll hopefully get to a point where it's not, your instinct is to, you know, not to go through with it. I think I'm getting better on that front. I think that they them pronouns is pretty simple to me. Is getting pretty close to second nature for me now. So what really helped was having a non-binary person in my D&D game, and then every single D&D campaign having a character that is non-binary. Which is that's neat.
Yeah.
I do somehow think that because like the binary trans like moment has begun, and now more and more people are exploring that identity. Non-binary gender identities are just starting to have their moment, and if the amount of people, I don't know, like I imagine this has worked in the past. If the amount of people who play non-binary D&D characters is anything to go by, that when that egg cracks, there's going to be a lot of them. That's my thinking.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good.
All right. Cool. We got 10 minutes for 3 questions. All right, we can do this. We can do this.
We need to be quick.
Yeah. All right. So I suspect that this is unanswerable. Lovely. But do suppose you downloaded all the memories of a cis man into a cis female baby. Would that make the baby into a trans man? In the last year, I've been watching a lot of isekai anime. Oh, okay. And a lot of them use reincarnation to get the main character from present-day Japan to the fantasy world. Of those, a certain amount use intergender reincarnation, usually a man getting reincarnated as a girl because anime, and that made me wonder about this hypothetical. Could you have all the memories of living a life as one gender and not be that gender?
Probably sometimes. Like, I would say that it would... Yeah, probably sometimes, but not every time.
Yeah, it would be. Like, it's not answerable because we haven't done this, but it would be interesting if there was a study of like if we could upload brains and put them in new bodies. If you put a person of gender A into a body of gender B, what their experience would be and what that would be like. That would be a very unethical experiment, but
yes. But I'm just thinking like and maybe this is not something that is universal because I'm a trans woman, but I'm just thinking that like I lived a significant part of my life as a cis man and not knowing that I was a trans woman, and if you had taken that brain of like me at 17 or whatever and put it into the body of a cis woman, like I wouldn't mind. Like, I'd be fine with it. But that wouldn't make me a trans woman in like that act itself. Because in my mind, in that new body, I would have gone from being a cis man to being a cis woman. Now, I'm not sure, and I can't help, like, for me, obviously, that is probably not a universal experience because I'm a trans woman, but I'm thinking there has to be some cis men out there who are happy being cis men as they are, but who would also be fine just being cis women if that was like thrust upon them. But sometimes it wouldn't work. So that's why I'm saying that like sometimes it would work, sometimes not.
Yeah, the closest thing I can think of in these situations is there's sometimes. Like, if I remember, there's only a handful of cases where anything like this has happened, so take it with a fucking mountain of salt. But like, I can at least remember one case where there was a botched circumcision of a baby boy that was so bad that the parents decided to just raise the child as a girl, and that person suffered a lot of gender dysphoria. Without even knowing that this all had gone down, and eventually that person actually like ended up killing themselves. So it's obviously some seriously dark shit. But that's the closest thing I can think of to like an actual case where something similar to this happened, and or even just the fact that intersex people very often, who have intersex people with undifferentiated genitalia often get surgically turned into one or the other, and that can also cause problems. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it probably would cause a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm. All right. 2 more, 6 minutes. We can do this.
We can do it.
A few weeks ago, you said, though, we should probably create new minority superheroes instead of changing the gender, race, and sexuality of existing superheroes. So the argument I've heard against that is that it's almost impossible for new superheroes to achieve iconic status that superheroes that were created in the Golden Age or Silver Age achieved. Like when Batman was created, there was a lot less media, so it was way easier for a character to establish iconic status. If you say those old characters are left to be cishet, and the new characters are to be LGBTQ superheroes will probably always be less well known. Any thoughts on that argument?
Make a new Golden Era. But you can't make a new Golden Era if you keep sticking to the old stuff.
Yeah, you have to retire these superheroes. Like, to me, in my mind, yes, yeah, because it's just like a lot of this. Yeah, because like there's so much like cultural necromancy that you have to, like, a lot of things don't have moments because they have to compete with like, yeah, the fact there's always going to be a new Batman movie and there's always going to be new Batman comics, and it's like, okay. That, like, yeah, these things need space to grow. And
yeah.
I don't really know much deeper than that, but I think that it kind of speaks to the whole conversation about how so much of media today, because that just suffers from a lack of trying new things, but living in a very different world than the time when old things were made, that they have to then take something that was made in a very different era that was having very different conversations about a different thing, and then try to shove it into making sense in modern day, and, you know, make it so that it has, like, you know, the representation that we expect in modern day media. And it always ends up being probably a less good product than if you had just made a new thing that was for this moment. And if the case is that you can't make any more iconic characters, that's really sad, because that basically means that culture is dead.
Yes. Which I don't think it is, right? Like, I think there was always like space for it. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Last,
like, but you know that you know it's also not like an either or question. Like, you can do both.
Yeah. All right. The last question before the big break. Let's do this. Shit. Is it bad to ask for explanations on why stuff like... God damn it! It's the question that we already answered. It just got re-asked.
Oh shit!
We did it. We accidentally did it.
We accidentally did it.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool.
It's empty. The question thing is empty. It hasn't been empty in months. And the question submission form is locked, so it won't accept any more submissions. So we beat it. We beat streaming.
Fuck yeah.
Streaming. I have a question for me, if I may. Go for it. Yeah, we've got 2 minutes. Let's do it. Come on, Cabald. No pressure. It has to be a great question and one that we can answer really fast. No, it's fine. It's fine. Let's give us something good. But man, it's almost Christmas time. Isn't that great? All right. Here we go.
Christmas time. We're doing... This is such a wholesome moment because we get to have the final Monday Discourse. Good finishing all the questions right before Christmas, and you're right about to become a dad. This is like the peak holiday spirit right here.
Yeah. All right, here's the question. When you were struggling with identity growing up, did you feel like you wanted to be a woman or that you didn't want to be a man? Which came first? Which came first? Being like, I'm not a man, or I think I'm a woman. That'd be which of that was the first thing that came to mind?
I'm not a man, 100%.
Okay.
Like that. Yeah, that's actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. Because like, the idea of being trans was not something that was even like considered possible. Like in my mind, that was just like I might as well like I could live on Mars. So it was like my brain honestly went to places of like maybe I'm like some sort of demon incarnate.
Oh dear.
Or some shit. They went there before it went to being like a trans woman.
Well,
So
I think we're all
am
very...
I some sort of fallen celestial entity?
You may be some sort of
No.
fake creature.
Like honestly, like that's where it went for me, because it didn't seem as possible. But that's also something that like pushed me to like denialism up until I was like 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, realizing that that transitioning like was an option, like that, you know, that blew my mind. And then I knew like that same day, and that all of those feelings like instantly translated over.
Yeah, I've heard that it's it very much is. It always seems to be that way. It's like always just like. And then I found out 6 hours later that I spent 6 hours on the internet, and I found out, yeah, like. Well, we're all very happy that you came through to the other end of that.
Thank you.
We're all very happy to have you.
Wonderful.
All right. Well,
we're happy to have you too.
Congratulations on starting the new family. Oh, thank you. Hope you make fantastic memories of holidays. Yeah, he's probably going to be born sometime in like January 4, 5, 6, that area. So, soon, less than 2 weeks. So yeah, it's gonna be wild. But yes, we are at 2:00. It is time to stop streaming for this quarter. So next quarter in a bit. So for the last time, Mia, I should ask you, who are you and what are you doing here, and where can people consume your content while I am away?
You can consume my content on miamulder.com. It will take you to my YouTube channel, or you can go to twitter.com/potatopolitics or twitch.tv/miamulder, or you can search for Leechfest and it will take you to my podcast that I do with a friend about medical history. It's very good. We just made an episode about abortion and the history of abortion, so that's fun.
That's gonna be a good one.
Yes.
I did a little bit on that when I was teaching U.S. history, because we would show a Lysol ad and I'd be like, what do you guys think this is an ad about? What do you think this ad's talking about? Let's have a chat. What do you guys think?
I saw an ad while researching the episode for Beecham's Pills, which just had like a big like illustration of a woman at the seaside, because I guess that's just how they illustrated like early pregnant women back then.
Mm-hmm. All right, friends. It's been a wild few years of streaming. I'm going to be going away for a while, as you guys know. I'll be coming back hopefully sometime in March. That's the plan. I'm going to, and I have it like written down to do, have some serious thoughts about what role streaming is going to play in my future. Not that it's going away, but that if I'm going to keep doing it, I'm going to do it in some fashion that is intentional and professional. So I'm going to talk to some of my more professional streaming friends and see what kind of role this can play in my life. So hopefully, and obviously, Mia, you're going to be a part of it, no matter what it is, because this is obviously the more fun stream than the one where I just have to yell at the chat for 2 hours on Tuesday nights.
Can't wait for Monday Discourse season 2.
Yeah. Oh boy, some wild plot twists happening in that one. But it's been very rewarding. You guys have all been very supportive and have been amazing people to have around as part of my weekly schedule. And just know that while I'm doing all this stuff, I can't wait to get back to you guys again, because it's a fun thing to do. This is a fun job that we have.
It is. Yeah.
So we're going to, very on brand, we're going to raid MX Emily, our most common raiding target. And yeah, everybody, let's get this going. One last time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and yeah, you'll see a much more tired me in a few months.
You'll do great.
Thank you. Oops, I forgot to push the button. All right. Peace.